Hey, what's up, everybody? So I just wanted to do a quick video. I was planning on making a video about this at some point, but I've just been kind of inspired to make this video now because of what I just saw on Instagram. I think it was Instagram. I was just browsing Instagram. But this isn't the first time I've seen something like this, which is why I want to make this video. But yeah, I've kind of figured I'd just make it now. So I don't know if anyone else has kind of like done research into this or like seen online, but apparently there are some sites or like some websites or links that you can go to see if you qualify for like some sort of settlement or lawsuit for against the companies that make nitrous oxide, the whippets. I would assume like physical damages, like for me, like with the nerve damage and not being able to walk, maybe like monetary losses, like, me being fired from my job because of the psychosis, the mania and psychosis that led to me being fired, and just like emotional damage. It's just like, I can imagine, there's a lot of different reasons one could attempt to sue, especially if it is like a class action lawsuit. Yeah, I don't know, like I think that's interesting. I'll admit, like I'm a little torn. Like I feel pretty steadfast in like my stance on this just because of my kind of principles, but at the same time I am still kind of slightly tempted to like pursue that just for the sweet money. I don't know how much money, if any, you would be able to get. I can imagine like if a bunch of people banded together and did like a class action lawsuit, and there's lots of documentation on like, nerve damage and like other losses, from like mental or physical effects of nitrous oxide, it might be possible to win that, and who knows how much. But it's like, yeah, I'm a little tempted, especially with money being tight, but at the same time, it's like, this isn't like to like be judgmental against anyone else. Like, I know we all have our different reasons for doing things, but for me personally, I wouldn't want to pursue that, just because I think that's pretty lame. Especially like for me, like I knew full well what sort of risks nitrous oxide abuse carried. And I also knew that you were not supposed to, inhale and abuse it, outside of, having it at the dentistry office. Certainly not, doing whippets out of the whipped cream dispenser. That's, that's a given. I mean, the packaging says not to do that. But again, I knew the effects, with vitamin B12 depletion or inactivation, and, how that causes risks for nerve damage, which, like I said, I experienced. I also knew about the effects of like, the mental health effects. I mean, me losing my job, that's not the first time that I experienced that mania and psychosis. I have had that happen a few times in my life after enough nitrous oxide abuse. So it's like I was full aware of like all the risks and the consequences of my abuse of the nitrous oxide. So because of that, I wouldn't feel right with either individually suing or like doing like joining in a class action lawsuit. I guess I will say, like, I won't completely rule it out. Again, pretty much, well, I guess this video is not really going to do me any favors if I ever do so. But I don't want to sit here and like be like, oh yeah, I'm 100% not going to. But most likely not going to, just because I just don't think that's right. I don't think like any amount of money for me could like justify going against my beliefs and my values. Like, this is something that I did to myself. No one put a gun to my head and no one said, hey, abuse this nitrous oxide. And so yeah, you know, I take full responsibility for, you know, what happened, and, you know, not being able to walk, you know, and slow recovery, and, you know, the effects of, like, just everything that happens. So I don't know, I just wanted to make it just a quick video. Like, I'm curious to see what everyone else's thoughts are. I would really, like, appreciate everyone that, you know, that watches this, you know, like, I'd like to hear your comments. I'd like to see what you think. You know, if you were in a similar situation such as myself or other people, and, you know, you experienced, you know, nerve damage and not being able to walk for quite a while, and you know, a very slow recovery, and, like, maybe, you know, lost your job, lost relationships, what would you do? You know, if especially, like, if you knew you had, like, a slam dunk case, and, like, knew you could make, like, thousands or maybe even, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars, what would you do? You know, I'm really curious. Again, for me, like, pretty much 99.9% of me is just like, no, any amount of money, I just don't think is, like, it just justifies it. It's warranted. But still an interesting thing to talk or think about, especially now that I've, you know, that's, like, the second time I've seen, and I think this is a different source. That what I saw on Instagram was different from another site that I've been exposed to. I think on one of the, like, nitrous oxide harm reduction or nitrous oxide recovery subreddits, one of the subreddits on Reddit, someone posted a link, and yeah, I don't know, it's just I don't know, like, I honestly, like, I think it would be hard, like, honestly, I just don't see, I mean, I guess maybe you could, like, argue, you know, like, they were at fault, but I don't know, I just feel like it would be really hard to, like, put responsibility on the companies, when it's, like, the packaging explicitly states to not inhale, you know, not abuse nitrous oxide, and it's like, yeah, you know, it doesn't say, like, the consequences you could face if you were to abuse it, and, you know, inhale it, but you know, I don't think that's necessary because it's superseded by the do not inhale. So regardless of whatever effects, you know, it may have on you, you know, like, I feel like they're covered because it's like, you know, don't abuse. Now, if they didn't have anything like that, or, you know, particularly, like, I guess, advertised, like, in sneaky ways, like, where it's like, you know, like, maybe not overtly, but, like, kind of covertly, like, suggest to abuse it, then maybe, I guess also, now that I'm kind of talking about that, like, I guess with the Galaxy gas, you know, like, the big canisters, you know, someone that abused those, maybe they might have a better chance of, you know, being successful in a lawsuit, just because, honestly, those, I don't see, I think they also claim, like, oh, you can, like, make whipped cream out of them, or something like that, but honestly, in practicality, like, it's not practical. I don't see any applications where that would be, you know, the case. Whereas for me, I used to, like, I abused, like, the whip bits, like the 8-gram cartridges of nitrous oxide that you would, you know, crack into, well, you can use a cracker. For me, that was too slow, you know, with the balloon, so I would just use a whipped cream dispenser, crack it into that with no whipping cream in there, of course, and then inhale from the dispenser directly. So I think that's a little bit different, because, like, you know, it's like, those are sold with the intention of, like, actually making whipped cream, so, like, that has, like, a legitimate application. Like there's a reason why they're selling it. And now granted, it's like, you know, in head shops, smoke shops, sex shops, obviously like they're selling it for the purpose of recreational use. But still, you know, there's that like like plausibility of like, well, it's just for whipped cream. Whereas like with the big ass canisters, it's like there's really no purpose for those other than abusing them. You know, that you could like. So yeah, I guess that's also kind of why I'm a little more biased, or at least like why I really lean heavily towards like not wanting to pursue like any legal action. Because it's like, I don't know. I just feel like regardless of whether there's a case or not, like I just don't feel like I can blame anyone, especially any sort of company on, other than myself. I'm the one to bear sole responsibility. So I just don't think it would be right, even if I could win, and if I could win lots of money.